In part 4 of the 2022 Canes opponent preview series, we're going to preview the 2022 Middle Tennessee State Blue Raiders, our opponent in Hard Rock Stadium on September the 24th. Well, let's look at Middle Tennessee. They were 3-6 in 2020. They went 7-6 last year. But can they improve on that? Okay, last year they had a tough start. They went 2-4 to start the season. Much like 20. They rallied with a strong second half. Last 7 games, they went 5-2. That includes a win in the Bahamas against Toledo. What got them going in the second half was a tough defense, and it's led by Reed Blankenship, Quincy Riley, and DQ Thomas. That group was All-Conference USA last year and allowed 24 points or less in 6 of the 7 games to end the season. And they're even better this year. Okay, they're even better this year. Actually, they look bleaker, obviously. I'm sorry. They don't look as good as they did last year. All 3 are now graduated and gone. And outside of Jordan Ferguson on the edge, there's not much else there. They were 106th in returning production this year. That means this Middle Tennessee State team could suffer if they struggle again. And to make matters worse, only 5 transfers make up for this shortfall of talent. But if there's one thing Coach Stockstill could do, is building a consistent program from very little. In other words, he gets more from his people with less. They're always in that 6 to 8 win window. Now, ESPN has them for 7 in their Football Power Index. Well, if you look at their schedule, there's no reason why they can't win 7. Now, let's look at their offense first. Time for new people to step up. Now, in the offseason, Coach Stockstill reorganized his coaching staff. He brought in Mitch Stewart from Sanford. And Stewart runs a typical up-tempo, no-huddle offense, so prevalent today, and has had good reviews from Coach Stockstill going on. Now, the biggest question for them is who the heck is going to do anything with this offense? Last year's leading rusher on the team was Frank Peasant, and he had just 372 yards on 81 carries. Their 2 leading receivers are Yusuf Ali and Jaden Lane. Both those players had less than 500 yards receiving in 2021. In other words, time for new guys to step up. There could be a battle at quarterback between Chase Cunningham and Nicholas Bataito. Forgive me if I pronounced the name wrong. Cunningham looked to be the better quarterback after the injury to the latter, but there's a possibility the latter wins his job back. But when you look at that offensive line, my God, 4 starters gone from last year's team. That unit was top 40 in the nation in sack percentage allowed. So that's going to be a challenge for them. Now, when you look at their defense, as I mentioned, outside of Ferguson, they don't have anything there. Last year, the defense was the team's identity. They were a top 40 unit in place, yards per play allowed, but with 4 of those players leading that defense, they were able to keep themselves in the game. But 3 of them are gone. Only Ferguson is left. But he's only one of the 5 best players in the entire conference going into the season. He had 16.5 tackles for loss and 8 sacks. He'll get that number up this year. But when you look at the defensive line, they do have experience besides Ferguson. They have Richard Kinley and Saden Wood. What's left of an overcooked meat interior. And they will be better this year. But when you talk about the linebackers, it's a little different ballgame. Jonathan Butler leads the middle of that group, but they have 2 redshirt sophomores on each side of him. Excuse me just a second. In the secondary, you have a solid corner in Dick Curry and Peterson. And he defends and passes in 22. But depending on who you talk to, Teldrick Ross is either an effective safety or a very good, decent corner. They're led by Traff Llewellyn, who played all 13 games last year at safety. Now let's take a look at that schedule. That schedule is going to be an absolute brutal. They open with the newest FBS member, James Madison. They have to go on the road there. They're a 7-point favorite already. Doesn't look good. But there's a team that they can win at Colorado State. Jay Norvell took that job there. And they have transfers full from Nevada. And Nevada was a solid team. But it's not going to translate to a win from them. People think Middle Tennessee can win that game. I do as well. Then they get Tennessee State with Eddie George. And they've had some good teams in the past, but I think in the end, Tennessee State, Middle Tennessee wins that game. Then they come to Hard Rock September 24th. You do not want to face us after a potential loss in College Station the week before. If we're going to get ready for ACC play, this is the game. We start doing that a little more. I think you'll see the second and third unit for us in this game. I think we win comfortably in that one. That's a loss for them. Then they close out that month with San Antonio, the team that won Conference USA last year. Now, they'll still have a very solid team. And I still think, and that's the team that will probably get the W in Murfreesboro. Then you look at UAB. They go to UAB. Consider what Bill Clark has done. He's now retired. But when you have the talent that UAB has, they should win. They should beat Middle Tennessee in that game. But then when you look at the back end of that schedule. The back end, Western Kentucky. Yes, they have Jared Dodge. But aside from that, they have nothing else. They should win that game against Western Kentucky. Then they go to El Paso. El Paso still has a potent offense. And I think that's a game UTEP wins. Louisiana Tech. My God. Is this the same Louisiana Tech team that beat us in the Independence Bowl? My goodness, they are just terrible. I think Middle Tennessee wins that game comfortably. Charlotte. No consistency for them. It may be a little different. Charlotte could win that game, but in the end, Middle Tennessee gets the Duke there. Then FAU comes in. Holy moly. We know Willie is a team that can give you one of two things. They could be dominant one week and pathetic the next. But they're not like Charlotte. I think this is a game Willie can come out victorious against. I think Florida Atlantic beats Middle Tennessee. And then at FIU. Should we say anything more about them? This is going to be the worst team in FBS this year. This should be a game Middle Tennessee wins comfortably. I'm going to go 6-6 for Middle Tennessee in 2022. In part 5 of the 2022 Canes Opponent Preview Series, we will preview the North Carolina Tar Heels.